I absolutely hated it. I wanted to make it fun because if we're gonna have to be organized and do things that we don't want to do, it might as well be fun to do. That's it. All right, so for the rest of us who are staying here, hello, friend. Welcome or welcome back. I am so glad that you are here. My name is Kayla. I am sharing my journey as a multi-passionate creative to hopefully inspire yours. Today we have a lot to go over, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an update of where I'm at in my projects, kind of this next stage, all of that good stuff. If you're not interested in hearing all of that, then you can just click on over to the next chapter break. All right, so for the rest of us who are staying here, if you've been around for any stretch of time here, then you know that I've had a lot of ideations here on this channel, on my Instagram, all of those different things. I have pursued any number of projects. I've either burned out of them, failed, changed my mind, pivoted, all those things. And that's just part of being a multi-passionate creative, is you are going to create and pursue your art in different seasons, in different contexts, and I'm totally okay with that now. It took me a long time to be okay with that. I am okay with that. So this next season, if you will, is going to look a little bit different because I'm really shifting to focus my attention on the long form creation. I have found that I have truly fallen in love with long form creation. I think for my personal mental health and just my relationship with my art and the world and the people around me, I've come to realize that that short form content, that very quick bite-sized entertainment focused, here are 3 quick tips that you can get in like 15 seconds, that content is very difficult for me to create. I'm going to be focusing a lot more on this YouTube channel. So if you are here and you have followed me over from Instagram, let me just say I really appreciate the support. So I hope that you will be seeing a lot more of me if everything goes according to plan. Idea management. This is a concept that I talk a lot about, or at least I'm trying to talk more about and talk more confidently about, because it really has changed my life, just in my everyday life as well as in my creative process. Let's just start off with a definition. This is kind of a personal term that I've coined. I'm sure the concept is not new, but this is my definition. I'm going to read it for you. Idea management is the practice of clarifying unprocessed creative concepts to the point of follow through and fulfillment. Okay, I'm going to read that one more time for you. So idea management is the practice of clarifying unprocessed creative concepts to a point of follow through and fulfillment. I want to dive a little deeper than just the definition, but that gives you an idea of where we are going. Let me give you an example of my life before idea management and my life since I've kind of started implementing idea management into my creative process. My life as a creative has been very tumultuous. And I think when I was younger, I was able to kind of push through some of that disorganization simply because you have more energy and you don't have as much on your plate. As I got older, the more commitments were stacked on my plate, the more I realized I didn't really have any kind of systems in place to help me move my ideas from thought into action. So this kind of looked like being flaky, being stuck in an endless cycle of like starting and stopping projects, giving up in the middle, burnout, getting bored, or something that I was really passionate about became a burden. I just struggled. I didn't have a lot of confidence around my creativity. It's kind of what my creative life looked like before I started understanding idea management. Now, I didn't all of a sudden become this super ultra organized person that's great with time management. What I will say is I can create from a sense of peace, from a place of rest. There's not this sense of I'm missing out, fear of missing out, I'm running out of time, I've got to do this, pursuing every single idea because I'm afraid it'll disappear. Now I write down my ideas. I give them space to breathe. I don't automatically filter ideas that I think are dumb before I even give it a chance. I'm able to do a lot more with a full-time job and my creativity being more of a part-time side thing than I did when I had a full open schedule and my goal was to be a full-time artist. I talk a little bit more about that in this particular video. If that's something that you are interested in, I would encourage you to go and watch that one. This is for people if you left a job to be a full-time artist and it didn't go well, and now you're kind of considering maybe I need to go back to a more traditional 9 to 5. This video will be for you. I am currently writing a duology. I'm almost done with it. So that will be my 3rd book in a year. I'm planning on self-publishing in early 2025. I'm planning on creating music to go with those books. I have a podcast now. I have this YouTube channel. I'm doing significantly more with less time, and that's because I've integrated idea management into my creative process. If you're anything like me, and if you're here, I'm guessing that you are, you do not have an idea generation problem. You always have great ideas. If anything, you have too many ideas. You don't have an idea generation problem. You have an idea management problem. So maybe you're asking, well, this sounds really nice, Kayla. I definitely want that, but I need something a little bit more tangible. Let me give you some perspective shifts, some mindset shifts of what idea management is doing, what is attempting to move us from. Ultimately, at its most basic level, it's trying to move us from a state of hustle culture into a state of creating with peace, with ease, with excitement, with joy and purpose. All right, so the first mindset shift that idea management helps you make is to move from formulas to frameworks. Now, if you've scrolled at all on social media, then you know there are endless number of people who claim to be experts and gurus who will tell you, you can steal my formula. You can steal my step-by-step process. I think for some people that works. If you are a creative, especially a multi-passionate creative, then formulas are generally not going to work great for you. Idea management helps you shift from thinking you have to fit into this perfect mold and follow this step-by-step process, and shifts you into flexible frameworks. Creatives still need structure. If we don't have structure, then we lose valuable ideas because we have no way to retain them, to take action on them, to experiment with those ideas. So idea management helps you shift from, okay, I need to fit into this really tight box, into, hey, let me create some frameworks around my work so that I can get some motivation and actually move the needle a little bit. The second shift that idea management helps you make is to move from schedules to rhythms. I'll be the first one to admit I am not great with time management. But what I've discovered is I'm not great with traditional time management tools. Traditional time management tools are made by very organized people for already organized people. I don't fit into that mold. And so what idea management does helps me think less in super strict time blocks and helps me think about rhythms that are predictable, that help me build a natural motivation. That way, when I hit moments where I want to give up, I already know what to expect. I know where to go back to get back on my feet. The third perspective shift that idea management helps you make, and I talked a little bit about this, is to move from hustle to pace setting. All you have to do is scroll through your social media and you will see this very intense need to move very quickly, to redline it for long periods of time, to just work as hard as you possibly can until you meet your goals. Idea management shifts that perspective to pace setting and to accepting whatever pace you work well at. I realized I'm actually pretty slow. My pace is pretty slow. I need time for things to sit and stew. I need a little bit more time to move through my creative process. Sometimes I can move faster, but most of the time it takes me a lot of energy to put into my art. That is okay. I've now accepted that I need to adjust everything around me to my current pace. So idea management helps you move from that hustle, 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 being on that, rat reel. Rat reel? It helps you move from being in that rat race and move into, hey, I accept that this is my pace and it's okay if it's slower than other people's. The fourth mindset shift that really idea management helps you make, that I think is really, really important, is to move from finishing things to finding fulfillment. What do I mean by that? Anytime I started on an idea, I was convinced that I would be a failure if I didn't finish that idea all the way to the finish line. I discovered down the road that part of being a multi-passionate is I start an idea and sometimes I get halfway through and realize, oh, this isn't for me. This isn't for me, but I gave it a go and I've reached the point of fulfillment. This has really brought life in a lot of different ways because I can look back and think, oh, I didn't fail that. I didn't finish that because I had reached the point of fulfillment with that idea. I'll give you an example. I have a podcast, okay? It's really simple, nothing special, but I started hearing all of these people talk about, hey, if you're doing a podcast and you already have a YouTube channel, then you might as well be recording your podcast. So I thought, well, that's probably a good idea. I enjoy doing the long form videos, so why not do both? I filmed one episode while I recorded it, and I realized that I absolutely hated it. I hated it. I can't really tell you why. I just really did not enjoy it. I feel like it totally interrupted what I wanted to bring to the podcast and the type of tone that I wanted to bring to the podcast because I was distracted with making a video. So that's a great example of I didn't fail that. I also didn't finish that, but I did reach a point of fulfillment. I wanted to give it a shot. I wanted to see if it would work. And I got to a point where I realized, I have followed this idea down the road and now I'm ready to move on. And that is a very life-giving thing for creatives who are pursuing lots of ideas, sometimes at the same time, sometimes in seasons. That is very freeing to know that I actually don't need to finish everything. I just need to be able to say that I reached a point of fulfillment. And then the final mindset shift that idea management helps you make is doing it all versus choosing your best yes. Idea management for me really helped solidify the idea that I need to value my ideas enough to write them down. By writing them down, I'm creating an archive of my ideas. And when they are archived and written down, I no longer need to save space in my brain to try to remember these ideas. What I would do in the past is I would have an idea and I would start working on it right away because I was afraid I was going to lose it. I was afraid I was going to run out of time. I would do it all. I would do all of the ideas all at the same time without really thinking about it or processing those ideas. What idea management has done has told me, hey, you have an idea. You need to write that down and then let it stew. It's okay if you don't come back to it for a while. It's okay if you don't come back to it for years, but you need to write it down. You need to value that idea long enough to archive it. And that way you can say your best yes for whatever season of creating you are in. Let me tell you, that alone has changed the game for me as a multi-passionate creative. I am able to create with so much more ease and so much more peace because I've now said, oh, I had this idea, I'm going to store it, and then I will come back to it when I am ready to come back to it. And that's it. I'm not wasting any brain space trying to hold on to these ideas. I'm also not moving past my capacity or past what my pace can really keep up with, trying to work on all these ideas that I'm afraid are going to disappear. All right, we've talked a lot about idea management. We've talked a lot about what it actually does for us as creatives. Now, how do I actually do it? How do I implement it? I'm so glad you asked because I've actually created a flexible framework that takes into account the unique approach that multi-passionates have to help them work through their ideas, to get them from thought into a place of action. It's a 6-phase framework, and the fun part, it's inspired by my favorite video game, Skyrim. I wanted to make it fun because If we're gonna have to be organized and do things that we don't want to do, it might as well be fun to do. I call it the idea crafting wheel. I don't necessarily love that name, but as of now, that is what it's called, the idea crafting wheel. And I'm going to spend the whole first season of my podcast diving deep into what it is, how it works, and how can you make it work for your unique process. If all of this is really resonating with you, then I encourage you to go and listen to my podcast, subscribe, and listen to this whole first season. These are supposed to be really short episodes, 20 minutes or less. My goal is to get them to 15 minutes or less. We're working on it. But it's called Side Quest of the Week podcast. And the whole goal is to give you a side quest that week to help you work through your idea. Lastly, what I love so much about the idea crafting wheel is it is entirely able to be retrofitted to your personal needs. This is why I call it a flexible framework. This is what has generally worked for me. But you can take it and tweak it however you want to. You can completely skip 2 or 3 phases. You can go from 1 to 4 to 6, whatever. It doesn't matter because all of these concepts are flexible and they are meant to work for you, not against you. I'm really excited to dive into this first season of Side Quest of the Week and really dig deep into idea management, because I truly believe that if you feel like you are broken as a creative, that this has the potential to really change things around for you. But I don't want to leave you empty-handed today, so I have 3 strategies that you can start implementing now that will give you a quick win until we can work through these concepts on much deeper levels. If all of this sounds good and you're like, yes, please, I want that. One of the first ways that you can start implementing idea management into your creative process is to find a way to capture your ideas. I know we touched on this earlier, but your ideas matter. Your ideas matter. And the more you have on your plate, the harder it is to remember all of the ideas that you have. It does not have to be an organized system, okay? It really, really does not need to be organized. I have ideas strewn across multiple apps, multiple notebooks, all over the place. But what is most important is that when I have an idea, is I write it down. Capturing your ideas has nothing to do with brainstorming, refining them. These are the helicopter ideas. These are the wild ideas that have not had a chance to be worked out. That's fine. Find a way to start capturing your ideas because they matter. They matter, they matter, they matter. The second way to start implementing some idea management into your creative process is to experiment finding your ideal working time. I'm a morning person. I love working in the early mornings. Around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, my brain is going to stop working at its finest. Okay, you are not going to get the best version of me, so that is not the time for me to start working on my creative ideas. I had a student that I worked with, Janelle, and I remember she tried so hard to be a morning person. She just struggled and she was feeling frustrated. Well, I got up, but then I, really didn't get anything done. And I asked her, are you a morning person? And she said, I'm not a morning person. I said, okay, well, why don't you start testing out some different times that work better for you? And come to find out, Janelle was an evening person. Once everybody had gone to bed and she'd kind of done everything else for the day, that's where her creative energy started to come to the surface. So start experimenting with what is your ideal working time. Everybody tries to default to a morning person. It is okay if you're not a morning person. I happen to be. It works really well for me. It really is okay if you are not a morning person. So you need to find what ideal time works best for you and then savor that time. Savor that time for your creative investment. And finally, one of the ways that you can start implementing some idea management into your creative process right now is to identify the areas that you experience most resistance. You are going to experience resistance. We all are. There are always going to be moments in our lives, whether it's creatively or just in our day-to-day lives, where we are going to experience resistance. There are going to be moments where we want to move forward and we feel like, oh, this is really difficult. I'm running into this is not as easy as I thought it's going to be. Not all resistance is bad. Resistance can actually be a really great way for you to strengthen your confidence, your skills, all of those different things. Start identifying, where am I hitting resistance? Because there are some different ways that we can work through that in a healthy way. There are some different identifiers as well to recognize, ooh, is this too much resistance or is this not enough resistance? There's a lot of different ways in which resistance can work for you, but you need to first identify, where are you hitting resistance? When are you hitting resistance? Are there certain practices? Oh, I'm going to sit down to write my book. And as soon as I do that, I start realizing that my house isn't clean and now I want to get up and I want to fix that because I'm unable to focus. You need to start identifying areas where you're hitting those moments and start flagging them, because they're really, really important and you will need those later so that you can learn how to move through that. Idea management is the practice of clarifying unprocessed creative concepts to the point of fulfillment or follow through. I believe all creatives will benefit from idea management because it's moving us from a place of feeling broken to a place of creating with purpose and joy. I'm going to be spending the whole first season on SideQuest of the Week podcast on idea management, specifically the flexible framework I created for multi-passionates so that they can help move the needle on their projects. If you're looking for a quick win, then 3 strategies you can start implementing today in your creative process is to first find a way to capture your ideas. Secondly, find your ideal working time. It doesn't have to be the morning. Finally, start identifying the areas in which you are experiencing the most resistance. Flag those, make note, because we're going to come back to them. All right, friend, I am so happy that you stuck around. I really do hope this was helpful. If this is something that is helpful for you, please drop in the comments your thoughts. Idea management, while I kind of coined the term, it's not a new concept. It's not a new idea. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is this something that would be helpful for you? Is this something you are excited to join the journey? Do you have any questions that you would like me to address? Are there any specific issues that you struggle with that you'd like me to talk about? I want to hear all about it. Please let me know. Everything I chatted about will be down in the description, including links to the podcast and just some other resources that other creatives have also found helpful. I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.